It was a quiet evening in a small neighborhood on the edge of town. The streets were lined with oak trees, their branches swaying in the late summer breeze. Inside a modest but well-kept home, Mr. Carter, a black man in his late 50s, sat at the kitchen table sipping tea. He had lived in this house for almost 20 years. He knew every neighbor, every crack in the sidewalk, every sound of the block. But that night, the sound he heard made his heart pause. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't a friendly knock. It was sharp, heavy, and repeated with the kind of force that made the walls hum. Mr. Carter set down his cup. He frowned. Now who could that be? He muttered. He walked toward the front door, his slippers dragging across the wood floor. Before he could reach it, a voice boomed from the other side. HOA enforcement, open up! Mr. Carter froze. HOA? That didn't make sense. He didn't even live in a neighborhood with an active homeowners association. His street had never had one. He called out, "Who is it?" Another voice barked, "This is official HOA business. Open the door now." Through the glass panel, he could see two men. They wore black shirts with letters printed on the back. One shirt had RTY showing. The other had HOA in bold white letters, but something about them didn't sit right. Their shirts looked cheap, like they'd been printed at a copy shop. Neither man had a badge. Mr. Carter didn't open the door. He tightened his robe around him and asked, "What's this about?" The taller of the two men stepped closer. He pressed his face near the glass. "Sir, you're in violation of HOA rules. We need to come inside and inspect your property." Mr. Carter's eyes narrowed. "Violation of what? This street doesn't even have an HOA." The man smirked. "We make the rules now. You don't want trouble. Just open the door." Something about the way he said it sent a chill down Mr. Carter's spine. This wasn't about rules. This was intimidation. And that's when the sound of footsteps came from upstairs. Heavy, confident footsteps. "Dad, everything okay?" It was Marcus, Mr. Carter's son. Marcus had just returned home on leave after serving overseas. He was 30, tall, bald, muscular, with the calm presence of someone who had faced danger before. Marcus wasn't just a soldier. He was a Navy SEAL. Mr. Carter felt a wave of relief wash over him. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Marcus was already coming down the stairs. From outside, the shorter man shouted, "If you don't open up, we'll make this harder on you. Don't test us." Marcus stepped into the hallway wearing a plain black t-shirt and dark pants. He glanced at his father, then at the shadowy figures at the door. His voice was low but steady. "Dad," Marcus said, "step back." Mr. Carter obeyed, moving away from the door. He knew that tone. It was the same one Marcus had used as a teenager when he was protecting his younger sister from bullies at school, except now that tone carried 10 more years of discipline, training, and experience. Marcus walked to the door and looked through the glass. His eyes met the men outside. He didn't flinch. "What do you want?" Marcus asked. The taller man repeated himself. "We're here for an inspection. HOA rules." Marcus's lips curled into the smallest hint of a smile, but his eyes stayed cold. "You picked the wrong house." For the first time, the two men outside shifted. They hadn't expected resistance. Most people, they figured, would panic and open the door. But Marcus wasn't most people. Inside, Mr. Carter whispered, "Marcus, be careful." Marcus raised a hand slightly, signaling for his father to stay calm. Then, in a louder voice, he said, "You've got 3 seconds to tell me who you really are." 3, 2, the shorter man stammered. "Look, we don't want any trouble." But Marcus didn't let him finish. He swung the door open in one swift motion, stepping into the frame with his broad shoulders filling the space. His presence alone was enough to make both men instinctively take a step back. Marcus crossed his arms over his chest, staring them down. "Last chance. Who sent you?" The taller man swallowed hard. We're just here to talk." Marcus shook his head. "Wrong answer." The street was silent except for the distant hum of cicadas. The two fake HOA men shifted uneasily, realizing this wasn't going the way they'd planned. Marcus took one step forward, his voice low but sharp. "Now you're going to explain why you're standing on my father's porch, pretending to be something you're not, or I'll make sure the real cops hear about this. Every detail." The taller man's bravado cracked. "Listen, man, you don't understand. We just need him to agree to something. That's all." Marcus's jaw tightened. He knew a lie when he heard one. Years of interrogations overseas had sharpened his instincts. "Start talking," Marcus demanded. The two men exchanged nervous glances. Their plan to intimidate Mr. Carter had just met a wall they weren't prepared for, and that was only the beginning. If you're hooked right now, don't forget to hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if two fake enforcers showed up at your door? The two men on the porch shifted under Marcus's stare. They weren't ready for this. They had come expecting an older man, maybe scared, maybe easy to push around. Instead, they were face to face with someone who looked like he could snap them in half with one arm. Marcus didn't move. He kept his arms crossed, his broad shoulders filling the doorway. His voice was calm but sharp, like a blade. "You've got one chance to tell me why you're here," he said. "And don't waste my time with fake rules." The shorter man, his voice shaky now, said, "Look, we're not trying to hurt anyone. We just need your dad to sign something. That's all." Mr. Carter, still standing a few feet behind Marcus, frowned. "Sign what?" The taller man pulled a crumpled folder from under his arm. He held it out, but his hands trembled. "It's an agreement. Just paperwork." Marcus didn't take it. He didn't even look at it. "Keep talking," he ordered. The taller man glanced at his partner, then back at Marcus. Sweat was starting to shine on his forehead. There's a development company. They want the properties on this block. Your dad's the only one holding out. If he signs this, they'll leave him alone." Mr. Carter's eyes widened. "Leave me alone? I haven't even been bothered until tonight," the shorter man muttered. "We're just the messengers, man. We get paid to persuade." Marcus's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, forcing the two men backward off the porch and onto the walkway. He towered over them, his voice low and steady. "You came here to intimidate my father. In his own home. At night?" He shook his head slowly. "That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was lying to me." The taller man raised his hands a little, as if trying to calm Marcus down. "Hey, we didn't mean no harm. We're just—" Marcus cut him off. "You think dressing up in fake shirts makes you tough? You're not tough. You're cowards hiding behind cheap letters on cotton." For the first time, the shorter man's face dropped all pretense. His voice cracked. "We didn't know he had you." Marcus leaned in, his eyes burning into theirs. "You don't need to know who I am. Just know this, if you ever set foot on this property again, you won't be leaving on your own two legs." The street was silent again. The only sound was the heavy breathing of the two men, both trying to hold their ground but failing. Inside, Mr. Carter's chest swelled with both pride and worry. He had always known Marcus was strong, but seeing him like this, calm, commanding, unshaken, reminded him that his son wasn't just his boy anymore. He was a soldier, a protector. Finally, the taller man shoved the folder back under his arm. "Fine," he muttered. "We'll tell them you said no. But this isn't over." Marcus tilted his head. "You're right. It's not over. Because now I know exactly what you're up to." The two men turned, walking quickly down the sidewalk. Their fake uniforms looked even more ridiculous under the streetlights. Marcus waited until they were out of sight before closing the door. He locked it, then turned to his father. "You okay, Dad?" Mr. Carter let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "I'm fine, son." "But what on earth was that about? A development company? Forcing me to sell my house?" Marcus nodded. "It's a classic scam. They pressure older homeowners into giving up their property cheap. They use intimidation, fake rules, fake officers. And if that doesn't work, they try harder." Mr. Carter sat heavily at the kitchen table. "This house is all I have, Marcus. I raised you and your sister here. Your mother, she spent her last years here. I'm not leaving." Marcus sat across from him, placing a steady hand on his father's shoulder. "You won't have to. Not while I'm here." For a moment, the kitchen was quiet again. Father and son, bound not just by blood, but by something deeper, the will to protect what was theirs. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced down at it, his brow furrowing. A message from an unknown number. "You should have signed. Next time we won't ask nicely." Marcus stared at the screen. His eyes hardened. He turned the phone so his father could see. Mr. Carter's hand shook slightly as he read it. "Marcus, what are we going to do?" Marcus stood. He walked to the window, peering out at the dark street, scanning for movement. His voice was calm, but his words carried weight. "We're not going to wait for them to come back," he said. "We're going to be ready." The glow of the streetlights flickered outside. Somewhere in the shadows, Marcus knew those men, or whoever they worked for, were watching. But what they didn't know was that Marcus Carter had spent years facing enemies far more dangerous than a couple of hired bullies, and he wasn't about to lose this battle. Not in his own home. Not with his father sitting under his roof. This was just the beginning. If you're following along, drop a comment right now. What would you do if someone tried to scare your family out of your own home? And if you're enjoying the story, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next part. Marcus stayed by the window scanning the street. His instincts told him the two fake HOA men weren't acting alone. Guys like that didn't knock on doors unless someone bigger was behind them. Mr. Carter broke the silence. "Marcus, I don't want trouble. I just want them to leave me in peace." Marcus turned to him. His expression softened. "Dad, you've worked your whole life for this house. They think they can scare you into giving it up. That ends tonight." Mr. Carter looked down at his hands. "But what if they come back when you're not here?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then we'll make sure they regret ever showing up. Trust me, Dad, I've dealt with worse than them overseas. These guys are amateurs." The words comforted his father, but deep down, Marcus knew amateurs could still be dangerous. The return. It didn't take long. Just after midnight, headlights crawled slowly down the street. Marcus spotted them from the upstairs window. A black SUV parked 2 houses down. The engine cut off, but no one stepped out. He grabbed his phone and recorded a short video, pointing the lens toward the SUV. Then he texted it to a contact from his SEAL days. "Need a trace. Plate number 7HX291. Within minutes, his phone buzzed with a reply. "Private security firm. Not licensed here. Shady record." Marcus's jaw clenched. "I knew it," he muttered. He turned off the light in his room and moved downstairs quietly. His father was still awake, sitting on the couch, nerves written all over his face. "They're back, aren't they?" Mr. Carter whispered. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, but this time I'll handle it my way." Face to face again. The knock came louder this time. Bang, bang, bang. "Open up! This is your last chance!" Mr. Carter tensed, but Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. "Stay here," he said. He opened the door just enough to step outside. The night air was heavy, the streetlights buzzing above. 2 men stood on the porch again, but these weren't the same ones. They were bigger, broader, and they carried themselves differently, like men who'd been in fights before. One of them smirked. "You must be the son." Marcus crossed his arms. "That's right. And you must be the replacements." The first guys ran off pretty quick. The smirk faded. "This isn't a game. Your dad signs the papers or things get messy." Marcus stepped closer, so close that his shadow swallowed theirs in the porch light. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. "The only thing that's going to get messy is you, if you don't walk away right now." The taller man leaned forward, trying to intimidate him. "You don't scare me." Marcus didn't blink. "Good. That means you'll stand still when I break your jaw." For a moment, the street went silent. The second man shifted uneasily, glancing at the SUV down the block. The engine had started again, idling like a watchful dog. Marcus caught the glance. He knew there were more inside. This wasn't just intimidation anymore. This was a planned operation. Mr. Carter steps in. Before Marcus could say more, the door creaked behind him. Mr. Carter stepped out onto the porch. His voice trembled, but his words carried weight. "This is my home. You tell whoever sent you that I'm not selling. I don't care how much money they offer. I don't care how many thugs they send. This is my house." The shorter man scoffed. "Old man, you don't know who you're messing with." Marcus stepped in front of his father instantly, his muscles tense. "No, you don't know who you're messing with." He pulled his phone from his pocket and held it up. "See this? I've got your license plate. I've already sent it to a buddy of mine. He's military intelligence. If you think you can disappear, think again. By sunrise, every cop in this county will know exactly who you are." For the first time, the 2 men faltered. They hadn't expected resistance this sharp. A line crossed. But instead of backing down, the taller man snarled. "You think you can scare us? You don't know who owns this block. You and your dad are nothing. Just 2 names on a list." Marcus's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped even lower. "Then cross my name off your list, permanently. Without warning, the man swung at him. A wild punch, fast but sloppy. Marcus moved like water, smooth, controlled. He ducked, caught the man's wrist, and twisted. The man yelped as his knees buckled. In one swift motion, Marcus shoved him down onto the porch railing, pinning him in place. The second man lunged, but Marcus pivoted, planting a sharp kick into his stomach. The man stumbled backward, gasping for air. Mr. Carter's eyes went wide, but Marcus didn't hesitate. He leaned close to the man pinned against the railing. "Tell your boss this house is off limits. You come back here again, and you won't walk away." The man groaned, nodding quickly. Marcus released him, letting him collapse onto the steps. The SUV's engine roared, headlights flashing as if signaling retreat. The two men staggered to their feet and scrambled toward it, limping and clutching their sides. The black vehicle sped off, tires screeching into the night. Aftermath. Marcus shut the door and turned back to his father. His chest rose and fell steadily, calm even after the fight. Mr. Carter, still shaken, whispered, "Marcus, you could have killed them." Marcus shook his head. "If I wanted to, Dad, they wouldn't have walked away. But this was about sending a message." Mr. Carter sank onto the couch, his hands trembling. "They'll come back. I can feel it." Marcus sat beside him, placing a hand on his father's shoulder. "Then we'll be ready." "I'm not going anywhere." The phone buzzed again. Another unknown number? Marcus opened it. "You've made a mistake. Tomorrow night we settle this for good." Marcus's grip tightened around the phone. He glanced at his father, then back at the screen. "They just raised the stakes," Marcus said quietly, and in his eyes a fire burned. "If you're still with me, hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if a group like this threatened your family? I want to hear your thoughts." The next day was tense. Mr. Carter barely touched his breakfast. His hands shook as he buttered his toast, and every sound outside made him flinch. Marcus noticed. "Dad," he said softly, "don't let them get in your head. That's what they want." Mr. Carter sighed. "I just don't understand, son. Why me? Why this house?" Marcus leaned forward. "Because you didn't fold. Everyone else probably gave in. You're the last one standing." He tapped the table with his finger. "But they don't know what kind of family they're up against." Preparing for nightfall, Marcus spent the day preparing. He checked the locks, tested the lights, even walked the perimeter of the yard. He wasn't just a soldier tonight, he was a strategist. He set up his phone in the front window on record mode, camera pointed at the driveway. Then he slid a small flashlight into his pocket. When evening fell, the quiet street looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Mr. Carter sat on the couch, nervous. Marcus stood by the front door, still and focused, waiting. At 11:45 p.m., the SUV returned. This time, 2 SUVs, engines rumbling, headlights cutting across the driveway. Mr. Carter whispered, "Lord help us." Marcus squared his shoulders. "Stay behind me, Dad, no matter what happens." The arrival. Doors opened. 4 men stepped out of the first SUV. 3 more. From the second. 7 total. Dressed in black. No fake HOA shirts this time, just plain dark clothes. They walked in formation toward the house, their footsteps heavy on the pavement. Marcus opened the door before they could knock. He stepped outside, arms crossed, standing tall in the doorway like a wall of stone. The leader, a thick man with a scar down his cheek, smirked. "You're the son, huh?" "The soldier boy." Marcus said nothing. He just stared. The man chuckled. "You should have let your old man sign. Would have saved you both a lot of pain." Mr. Carter's voice called from inside. "I told you already, I'm not signing!" The scarred man's grin widened. "Then maybe we take it another way." He motioned with his hand, and 2 of the men started up the steps. Marcus's voice boomed like thunder. "That's far enough." The men froze. Something in his tone made them hesitate. The clash. The scarred man sneered. "You think you can stop all of us?" Marcus finally spoke, calm and cold. "Try me." The first man lunged. Marcus sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and flipped him straight over the porch rail. The man hit the grass hard, groaning. The second swung a punch. Marcus blocked it, countered with a sharp elbow to the jaw, and the man crumpled. The other 5 rushed forward. Mr. Carter gasped from the doorway, but Marcus was already moving. Years of training kicked in. Every step was calculated, every strike precise. One man came from the left. Marcus grabbed him by the shirt, slammed him into the wall, and dropped him with a knee to the stomach. Another tried from the right. Marcus ducked, swept his legs out, and the man fell hard onto the steps. The scarred leader charged straight at him. Marcus braced, blocked the first hit, but the second caught his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he didn't flinch. He drove a fist into the man's ribs, then another into his jaw. The leader staggered back, blood on his lip. Mr. Carter's courage. Inside, Mr. Carter's fear turned into something else. Anger. He grabbed the phone still recording from the window and stepped outside. His voice, shaky but loud, shouted, "I've got all this on camera! The cops are on their way!" The men froze, realizing the evidence against them. Marcus pressed forward, his chest heaving, his eyes locked on the scarred leader. "It's over. You leave this house and never come back, or I'll make sure you disappear before the cops even arrive." The leader's bravado cracked. He wiped the blood from his lip and snarled. "This isn't over, soldier boy." Marcus stepped closer, towering over him. His voice was like steel. "Yes, it is." The leader looked at his men, then at Marcus. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. The remaining men helped each other up, stumbling back toward the SUVs. Engines roared, tires screeched, and within seconds the street was empty again. Aftermath. The porch was littered with scuff marks and broken pride. Marcus stood tall, breathing. Hard but steady. Mr. Carter set the phone down, his hands trembling. "Marcus, you fought them all." Marcus put a hand on his father's shoulder. "I didn't fight for the house, Dad. I fought for you, for us." Mr. Carter's eyes welled up. "Your mama would be proud." Marcus finally allowed himself a small smile. "I hope so." He glanced back at the dark street, knowing deep down that the battle might not be over. But for now, they had won. If you're still here, hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments, do you think Marcus should go to the police or handle this himself? I'd love to know what you think. The night was finally quiet again. The SUVs were gone, the street empty, and the porch lights hummed softly in the silence. Marcus stood there a moment longer, his fists still tight, his chest rising and falling with each breath. Inside, Mr. Carter sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands, relief mixed with exhaustion. When Marcus stepped back inside, his father looked up at him with wide eyes. "You saved me tonight," Mr. Carter whispered. Marcus shook his head. "No, Dad, we saved each other. You had the courage to stand up and say no. That's what started this. That's what made me proud to step in." Mr. Carter swallowed hard, his voice shaky. "I thought I was going to lose everything. This house, my peace, my dignity." Marcus sat beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't lose. You stood your ground. And you reminded me what this home means. It's not just a building. It's family." The morning after. The next morning, the sun rose over the neighborhood. It looked like an ordinary day, but the Carters knew it wasn't. Something had shifted. Mr. Carter brewed coffee, the smell filling the kitchen. He set a cup in front of Marcus, who was scrolling on his phone. "What are you looking at?" Mr. Carter asked. Marcus turned the screen around. "News, that company? The one sending those guys? Turns out they've been pulling the same scam in other towns, buying off weak officials, sending hired muscle to pressure folks. But now," he smirked, "now there's video evidence." Mr. Carter's eyes widened. "The recording?" Marcus nodded. "I sent it to my contact last night. He passed it along to the local authorities and the press. By tonight, everyone's going to know exactly who tried to take this house." For the first time in days, Mr. Carter smiled. "Justice," he said softly. "A father's pride." Later that day, Marcus stepped into the backyard. The oak tree swayed gently in the wind, the same tree where he and his sister used to play as kids. Mr. Carter joined him, leaning against the railing of the porch. "You know," Mr. Carter said, "when you were overseas, I prayed every day you'd make it home. I thought about the danger you were in. I never imagined the biggest fight would be right here on our porch." Marcus chuckled. "Life has a way of surprising us." Mr. Carter's face turned serious. Again, "Marcus, I'm proud of you. Not just for what you did last night, but for who you are. You didn't fight with anger. You fought with purpose. You protected your family." Marcus's eyes softened. "I learned from you, Dad. You never gave up on this house. On us. That's what gave me the strength to stand tall." One last message. That evening, Marcus's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number? He opened it, expecting another threat. Instead, it was just 3 words. "We're done here." Marcus showed it to his father. Mr. Carter exhaled slowly, the tension finally leaving his shoulders. "Think they mean it?" he asked. Marcus shrugged. "Doesn't matter. They won't be back. Not after the world sees what they tried to pull." He deleted the message, set the phone down, and joined his father at the table. A quiet victory. The house was quiet that night. No knocks at the door. No engines idling outside. Just the steady rhythm of life returning to normal. Mr. Carter sat in his favorite chair, sipping tea while Marcus stood near the window, watching the street. "You can relax now, son," Mr. Carter said gently. Marcus smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I'll always keep watch. That's who I am." Mr. Carter nodded. "And I'm glad you're mine." They sat together in silence, father and son, stronger than ever. The house, their home, still stood. And so did they. And if you've been with me through this whole story, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if strangers tried to take your family's home? And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life.